aggregate, if they're gonna use aggregate coming in, well, they're gonna have a weight slip to prove. That's the only way you're gonna know. How are they not taking it out of the hole? You can't account for what comes out of the hole and goes into your mix.
No, we will, because we're gonna do.
It's gonna have to.
So the reality of it is, part of that consultant, if that's where the board decides to go, but that's where my imagination's led me to know, because that's how you have to measure the soil removal permit, because once you take it out of the ground, doesn't matter whether you're stockpiling or not, so the scale house really isn't a good measure. That's why we come up with the in-place surveys to say, this is what your permit says, this is what you're allowed to do. I don't care if you're sitting it on the ground, or it's going out the window, this is what you remove from the ground, soil removal permit, right? Once you pull it out, that's what soil removal is, right? Doesn't matter if it's stockpiled there for 10 years, or it went out on the street, 10 minutes, right? It's part of soil removal. So I think that's something that we're gonna have that discussion on, as far as that goes, is in-place surveys to be able to gauge what's coming out of the ground, hence soil removal permit.
And when does the response have to be back to you, the written response?
Public hearing,
Okay.
and then do a 15-day window,
Okay.
right, for a written comment?
What, how many days?
15 days?
I'd do longer. Yeah, I would do longer. I would think 30, but back and forth.
The holidays come up.
So it's just.
We can talk about that in a moment.
We haven't, right, and I was gonna get to that, he just asked the question, in my head, I got, because we're trying to get things moving, right?
Sure.
And I understand the winter season upon us, and you folks, you know, you're closing things down, but it's just about getting things done, and hopefully come to a conclusion.
Yeah, so that, yeah, we can figure out the dates later.
I mean,
My only comment was going to be in,
If it's 30, I'm gonna be here with you on Christmas Eve, and that's not happening, just so you know, so. You know what I mean? That's where we're at right now in the season, right? It's great that, you know, you're closing down your facility and people don't have to deal with the odors and all that stuff, but the reality of it is we are in the holiday season now, so we're at December 20th, so you tell me to go off 30 days. I'm at December 20th, my friend. And if it was 30 days and we have to start doing meetings, I'm locked up with Christmas and New Year's, so there's this 2-week span right there that's just blowing out again. So now that 30 becomes 45.
Yeah, that's fine.
well, and certainly our expectation would be that we would be submitting, you know, the deadline for written comments would be at least a week, if not 2, in advance of the hearing date, to give the board an opportunity to
Well, I just
actually
said
read and
the
digest.
public comment period would end, and that's what I was talking about, is 15 days. Doesn't mean as soon as the public comment period would be over, we're gonna rush out and start doing, you know, just regular soil board meetings and start deliberating based on what we know and what we're gonna do. We're surely not gonna do that, right? We would obviously need some time to digest what the public has submitted, what you have submitted, work with peer review,
Yeah.
kind of maybe relook at table 4.1 based on what comes in, not only from you folks, but the public. And that's all up for consideration when we do start deliberating, right? Is that fair to say, Jeff?
Yeah, my only concern, and this maybe is more of a question for town council, is that we would want whatever submittals we're making, and I assume the public would want whatever submittals they're making in writing to be part of the board's record.
It will be,
My concern is that if the hearing closes,
but the hearing will close after subject to keeping the record open for 15 days for public and written.
or however many.
It's written, yeah, whatever day, but it's gotta be written. They're not taking any more.
Understood.
So.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have a motion to entertain, right? A motion, okay? And that would be if we were gonna close the public hearing, but to leave the record open for written comments. That's how it would be done for X amount of days. So again, the public hearing would be closed. A written period, comment period would be left, the record would be open for 15 days, right? So from now to, say, December 5th, right? You get your information in to the town, the public gets their information into the town. The record would be closed as of whatever date we announce tonight and vote on tonight. And then, from there, we start holding public meetings, albeit deliberating, so you know, the public's kinda, even though it's still a public meeting, they can be there to listen to what we're deliberating, but then it's up to the soil board to make decisions, right?
Yeah, no, thank you. in my mind, once the hearing closes, the record closes. But if town council's advising the board that, that's not exactly
The motion is going to be, I move to close the hearing and keep the record open for 15 days.
or
So
however it is.
I think it's semantics. I
Okay.
don't think anybody can argue that anything that came in after, they kept the record open for 15, I guess it's 15 days to submit written comments. I see it happen all the time.
Okay.
I would just,
The
I would
15
make
days,
a-
I think we
I
may.
would make a
talk-
motion just, or at request.
Really?
Well, no, I'm sorry. I would,
Go ahead, make a motion.
all right, I motion to adjourn. All right. Give us a permit, let us go back to work, all right? I motion, how about that motion? But how about the 21st of December, that would be, or the, I mean, sorry, the 15th of December, Friday the 15th. Because there is, I think there's a fair amount of some back and forth between the engineering teams to get to yes on certain things, and essentially this week is shot. I mean, we're gonna leave here tonight, I can't believe, there's gonna be a lot of people working on Wednesday and all of those things. So if you added it to 21, I think it takes it out to the 15th, just for your, I think that gives enough room for everyone, because there's a fair amount that's gonna need to go back and forth, and deliberate, and then review what is the interpretation, because we got we can bring up the ambient air and decibels, right? But the fire marshal has something different, right? So we need to make sure that we're holistic in that conversation, and the definition works, right? For the abutters as well as PJ Keating, right? In regards to what does it mean that you can't be 10 decibels for greater than 20 minutes? Is that what we're saying? 10 decibels for 30 seconds? Because when we do a blast, we're going to be in violation for
Milliseconds.
a millisecond, and so we need to make sure that how we bring that together, and I don't believe we really had substantive conversation on that matter, right? So we want to suss that stuff out, and I apologize for making a motion.
It's all right, it wasn't seconded anyway.
I know, I did notice that. I did think back here I got a few, but yeah.
So you weren't even supposed to be debating it because it wasn't a second, but anyways.
But decide.
I don't, look, if that's what we're looking for is more time, I was of the mindset that we want to move, right? And I think town council felt the same way. I think if town council, you're,
It's up to you. If you guys are, and
They're
you're asking
asking-
for that, that's fine.
here's the deal. I'm willing to give you, well, not that much time, but enough time to vet this out and get it right? That's the goal of both the town and the company, right? Just keep in mind, Mr. Hill, that if we go out now, instead of being December 5th, and we go to the 15th for the record to stay open, right? We're probably not gonna get involved with meetings until into January
That's fine.
to start deliberating, just because of the holidays, right? And we don't know, I don't know what everybody's doing for vacations, and it's the holidays, and realistically,
We're gonna, PJ Keating is gonna be fine if we move, if we move that out and then say the next meeting is at some point in January, after, 10 days, whatever, 2 weeks after the first Monday,
week
whatever.
after,
Yep.
January, whatever, you know what I mean? We can get
Yep.
back to
Yep.
business and stuff like that. I mean,
That's fine.
we can figure it out. I just wanna make sure that if everybody's on the same page, I think it's probably best for the public if they're gonna do written comments as well. They can, people at home that aren't here tonight, they can maybe watch it, maybe somebody at home has something that they wanna say, and they weren't able to make it tonight, so they can have an opportunity for written. And again, with this week going by, I'm fine. I get, at that point, Mr. Blake, you've offered me some dates, but it's kind of no big deal now, right? Just to close, just to keep the record open to a certain date, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
We'll figure out what works for you in January, right?
Well, yeah, for the, you're
stop
talking
me-
about the
to
meetings. Yeah, we'll
stop
have to figure
meetings.
that out, yeah.
But it's like,
Oh, no, they wanna keep it open till.
no, I'm closing the public hearing.
I know, but keeping the record open until 15.
Yeah, hold on one second. Do we they can figure it out. So I don't know what's going on over there for right now, but it doesn't really matter about whose availability it is. We can figure that out. We got over a month to figure out availability.
Yeah, it was just which date the record's closed.
15.
We'll figure it, we'll figure it out.
We can figure that out.
So let's talk to the public a little bit more. That's why we're here. Hence the word public hearing.
Thank you.
Sir, come to the podium and speak. You just announce your name. I know who you are.
Douglas Thomas, 25 South Main Street, right next door. In this application or this proposal, before we put the cart to the horse, my question is there any discussion or a proposal on business hours of operation? Has anything been proposed from PJ Keating?
Yeah.
Could we share that with the public?
Yeah, I believe it was 7 to 9, 7 to 9:30.
7 AM to 9:30 at night?
That's what was inside the application. I believe it was
Monday through Saturday?
6:30, so it looks like as long as we've gotten this right when we put it in table 4.1, 6:30 to 9 PM, Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week. But that's entirely up to the board, based on, we can listen to public comments, we can listen to the company's comments. It's entirely up to the board of the soil board, I should say, to make that decision according to the bylaws. That's one of the things that we have got.
Our bylaws are our bylaws, but as we know, they've run 24/7. We've listened to them, as has been stated. Is there a state override that would ultimately affect those business hours and put us out of having a voice for hours of operation, where the state can come in and say, these guys are gonna be there, they're gonna produce asphalt 24/6.
I don't know of any state regulation that would allow that, nor has they ever done that. The state ever done that, nor is the state proposing to do that now.
And I needed that to be clear, and that's the answer I was hoping to hear. So the hours of operations are the hours of operations at an agreed hourly, production, maintenance, whatever. And there was that lengthy discussion, well, there's the off hours and, we do this
Some
on.
maintenance, yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Business is business. If a piece of equipment breaks down, you've got between 7 and 9:30 at night. It's nothing after 9:30. I've listened to them morning, noon, and night, 6 nights a week with the backup signals on the equipment, listening to the conveyors running, trucks hauling over the road. I don't care to listen to that any longer. And that's my fight. I want them to be in business, I want them to be good neighbors, but I think it needs to be a limited time. You open the door at 7, you close your door at 9:30. There's no noise after 9:30.
We need to deliberate that, right? That's one of the things that this board will have to make a decision on, is hours of operations. It's in our bylaw, it will be a condition on the permit. We'll figure that out. That's what we're working towards, is try to figure out all the things that we have loose ends on right now, based on what Mr. Legier and Mr. Hill have told us tonight. They want a little bit more clarity in some of the way we put, the geosynthetic put comments together. And I'm most certainly willing to work with them and work with geosynthetic and figuring all of that stuff out, but there's certain things that I don't think anybody can really say to this board, other than the people, right? And ourselves, to make a conclusion on what we think are the hours of operation, what they should be, right?
So, Mr. Chairman, so Doug, so your comment on this subject matter is?
Yes.
Whatever the hours of operation are, those are the hours of operation,
Correct.
not to exceed. Right, so
Correct.
that's what you want us to hear?
Yes.
Right now.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Thomas, just to clarify too, the 6:30 to 9 was the request. That is not written in stone in the application. They
Right.
applied with that request as ours. Like Chairman Gasser said, that is ultimately up to this board here to decide what those hours are.
Correct.
And we actually had that conversation at the last public hearing, that we actually had a public hearing, we weren't just here to continue the public hearing, we wanted to know what that was, right? And they said they would try to give us an idea. The truck trips was one of them, doing sales, right? the 6:30 to 9:30, whatever that their hours are in the application to be exact, it doesn't really matter, I think everybody gets the hint. They were gonna break it up, it was like, 7 to 5 sales, right? And then they go into maintenance mode, whatever it may be. We would want that feedback from the company to say, this is what we're looking for, and this is the rationale behind it. And then we gotta figure out what's in the best interest of the community and the health and well-being and the safety of our community based on that, right? I think that's what we're gonna do, and we'll figure it out. But, there's a request in their application, and that's exactly all it is, right? It's like everything else.
Absolutely.
It's a request.
Yes, yes.
I think the town's demonstrated that we're trying to do the right thing. We amended the soil conservation bylaw, right? We put the waiver provision in because we all know that we couldn't do anything without that waiver provision, right? So the board took action, brought another amended soil conservation bylaw. We got a waiver provision to allow this board to have some flexibility when it comes to the permit. Other than that, there's no way they can meet it, right? The way the bylaw is right now, even though we have geosyntax saying it doesn't make any sense, the 2-to-1 slope and 1,000 feet and all that stuff right there, doesn't make any sense. But because the bylaw is what the bylaw is, we didn't have a waiver provision, we can never do anything, right?
Right.
The bylaw also calls for, and it's inside table 4.1, 4 feet groundwater, right? Spring high water table, right? Well, we all know when you're 200 and something feet, right now, I think they're 254, 260 below sea level. We all know that you're way below the high spring water table, right? Doesn't take a rocket science to figure that one out, right? So that needs a waiver, right? So that's why the board took action and brought that to town meeting. We're thankful for town meeting for approving that amended soil conservation bylaw so we can move forward. But it's not always, sometimes sitting at home and depending on who you are, and you think it's simple, right? And you would think it's simple, but again, it is to certain people, I guess, but it's a little bit more difficult when you're the Board of Selectmen acting as a soil board. And we gotta protect the health and well-being of our community, but also understand that we have a business that needs to be able to do business because they have done business for 100 years, and that's why we're building this game plan. Hopefully, we'll bless you. We'll have something in place that everybody can see, everybody can appreciate, and this is the rules of the game, let's move forward, and
Right.
we can let them reopen, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not we're gonna be 100% happy, Doug, whether or not PJ Keating's gonna be 100% happy, we'll see.
We know we're gonna have bumps in the road, we understand that, but we're not willing to go back to what we all were used to. We're looking to obviously better everybody's life in this community and to overcome, hopefully, and work with this company as good neighbors and not experience what we've been enduring for these last few years. Now's the time to lay it on the table and not put the cart before the horse. And all things considered, yes, it's a business, yes, I want them to stay, but let's be really good neighbors here and, be respectful and move forward with this and get things underway. And hope for the best, that we do get things right.
I know, I've been involved for several years now, right, when the complaints and all this stuff started occurring, Doug, and you know what, I've met a lot of good people in the community, just from driving around and speaking to them that normally I wouldn't have had if this issue didn't come up. On the other hand, I've also been inside the facility and I've met a lot of good people there as well, right? Not everybody has the intent to harm, right? I don't think anybody really has that, sometimes people just don't understand, right? So, with that said, I'm very hopeful that we'll be in a lot better, we're gonna be in a lot better place when this company gets back reopened, really. I really do believe that. And if we're not, shame on them, right?
Right. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Christian D'Souza, 46 Lorikina. The only comment I really have to make is that I hope that the board going forward strongly considers the health and welfare of the residents surrounding this facility. the HMA is already in operation, and I can attest, I'm home on a daily basis. It's already an issue, and they're doing a fraction, I'm sure, of what they want to do. I don't know what the answer is to circumvent that, but I think that this facility should be held to the same standard as what's been proven in the other facilities, similar, in the other communities that have these facilities. I don't see why the town of Acushnet should endure anything greater than what's common practice in the mining industry, because it's unfair. 15 hours a day, what kind of life is that for people surrounding the facility? I mean, there is none. I just, again, I realize these guys gotta work. I've been in construction many years. It's not easy. It's hard to appease everybody, I understand that. But there's definitely gotta be some give and take. There's been egregious acts in the past, there was no oversight, and that's what brought us to where we are right now. And it's a shame. It never had to happen. That never had to be this way. So again, I just hope that the board, going forward, considers that, and we don't return down that same rabbit hole where we were, because I think we'll be right back in the same situation, and I don't think that's good for anybody, anyone in this town. So
Correct.
that's all. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Michael Ventura. I live at 50 Yacht Street, which is an eighth of a mile away from here, just so you know. So some of this affects me too, even though I do work for Keating. That's no secret, everybody knows. But I just want to say that, that quarry, it's a resource. It's not just something for us to make money from and be in business. I mean, it's really hurt all the people that work there. And I'm a resident, and I know there's other residents that want to be here tonight, but they can't because they're working. So I guess I'm the only person here to speak for Keating that lives in Acushnet. But I mean, all this work that the town has done and everything, it's just like, we need to pull this together and make everybody happy and get the quarry back open again. And I don't know. That's all I have to say, I guess. I mean, I just want you guys to be fair. I mean, nothing's perfect. I guess the saying I'm thinking of is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Correct.
So we need to work together to make things good for everybody. And I know, as far as me, because of the way things have been since the quarry's been closed, we had to go further out for work. So it's costing me an extra $75, $100 a week in gas and fuel to get around. That's money I used to spend going to Captain's Place, going to Blue Point. So that's money that's not going into our local economy. So it hurts us there. It hurts all the people that own trucks in town, that it's costing them more fuel. They can't spend their money in town. And it's costing everybody in the construction business from here all the way down the Cape. So, you know what I mean? I understand it affects them, but it affects all of us. I hear everybody say, be a good neighbor. Well, be a good neighbor to us. Work with us, let us reopen. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Speak now. Public hearing could be closed shortly. Anybody from either side, don't matter whether they're employed by P.J. Keating, as that gentleman, Mr. Ventura, just got up and did, or anybody from the town that's not employed. Do you have something to say that's different from what Mr. Ventura just said? Please get up and speak.
Everybody knows that the town's been at odds with each other. Everybody in this room, you got everybody sitting on one half, everybody sitting on the other half. I mean, everybody knows that everybody's at odds. It's been a big issue in town for years, and we have a chance to settle it, get everybody back to work, make the residents happy. Let's just get it done. Let's everybody get together and do it.
That's the goal, my friend.
I don't understand.
That's
I mean,
what
it shouldn't even have gotten this far with lawyers and all the money the town spent. get this far, I mean, we need to pull this together and get it done.
That's the goal.
That's all I have to say.
That is the ultimate goal. However, all these people in here that have been out of work have been because PJ Keating has plenty of money to try and bankrupt the town and drag this out for 5 years. $70 million a year this plant makes, and they couldn't solve this issue until Mr. Hill came in. I mean, everybody, all his predecessors basically dug their feet in and said, screw the residents of this area. That's why you people have been out of work so long. Because we finally said, no, we're not gonna deal with it. And we've had selectmen that have backed us up. We don't want this. I don't want to see anybody out of work. Just, all we want is be a good neighbor. Keating basically said, screw all of you over here. We're gonna do what we want because prior selectmen let them do whatever they wanted to do. And that's not right. Like Michael said, we have to all get along. It shouldn't have taken all this with the lawyers and everything else. I agree with that. But be fair to everybody here too. A lot of this came from the giant in the room. Thank you.
No pressure, Mr. Hill.
I think, I think I'll just make one point towards that comment, Nothing's been proven yet, Mr. Smith, right? Mr. Hill has shown his commitment thus far to make a wrong a right? And only time will prove that, including everybody that's employed at that facility to make sure they're doing everything they can and understanding these issues. I think Mr. Hill, through conversations I've had with Mr. Hill, I think he's demonstrated that he wants to be that leader, right? We can only hope that he's gonna be that leader and wish him the best of luck in getting to that goal, right? I think that's really the pertinent question, is whether or not he can pull this off. I'm confident he can pull it off. I've spoken to that man in private, on the telephone, whatever you would want to say, in person, on the telephone. He's demonstrated to me that he's trying to do things right? We just got to get to that point. Mr. Ventura said that. We all need to work together. And that's exactly what this whole thing is all about, is developing that plan to work together.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
He's bringing up things from the past. How long has the quarry been closed now?
4 years.
4 years. That's 4 years is a very long time. There's been a whole different shift in attitude in those 4 years, I think. So let's come into it with an open mind. I hear him say, well, your predecessors before were bad. They didn't listen, they didn't do anything. Let's focus on now, today. Let's clean slate, let's start over. I mean, if you're gonna keep being mad about things that happened before, we're never gonna get anywhere. Let's start
Just
over.
that we don't want them to repeat.
Okay, well, you gotta give people a chance to prove themselves, because I'm not gonna bring up any names, but I've heard someone say that was selecting, give somebody a second chance. Well, give us a second chance, let's try.
And
We
that's
have all the
why
management.
and that's
We're
why I
trying.
think
Let's
Mr.
try.
Hill is here, because
Right.
he's the only one willing to step up, grab the bull by the horns, because the mess has gone on way too long,
Right.
and he's the only guy that can do the job the way it's supposed to be done,
Okay,
on behalf of the town and your company.
okay, I
He's
agree
the
with that
only guy.
totally, but
Can you speak?
Yeah.
everything that's happened,
Not to each other.
everything that's happened so far, as far as the town shutting down the quarry, shut the asphalt plant controversy, the only people that have really gotten hurt, I mean, I understand they suffered for a long time with their problems, but the only people that's gotten hurt in this is all the people that work there. We're the ones that got hurt. The company still made money, company's still in business, they still live where they live. It's all the people that work there that ended up getting hurt. That's the only thing that came out of this, really. I mean, change is good, this is gonna bring about change, but I'm just saying that we were the ones that bore the brunt of what happened.
But the reason why we're here, let me just correct something that you said, Mr. Ventura, okay? It's true what you said to a degree, okay? But you gotta understand, the reason why we're here is because our residents were hurt, right?
I understand.
And
Nobody
that's-
says we wanted this
and
one
that's-
rough shot over everybody.
And
That's
that's the
not what we
problem, all right? So, I mean, I've heard a lot of comments in the early going before Mr. Hill was here. Somebody that I happen to know that works for the facility says, that's not dust, that's pollen. So it was a joke to some of the folks that were there. And I didn't think that was a joke, right?
That was wrong for that person to say, and that demonstrated to me that certain people didn't care. I get it, the past is the past, and we're gonna move forward for the future. That's what this is all about, right? And that's why I always tell people the rear view mirror is so damn small and the windshield's so big, because you don't wanna be focused on the past.
I don't think
So-
anybody on either side thinks that there should be no rules. I think that we just need to bury the hatchet a little bit and let's move on.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Trying to provide a
I hear a
resident.
lot of anger and bitterness, and it's like,
Well, it's been a long, it's
Right.
been a long process, right? And
Yeah,
and,
it's
you
also
know,
been a
you might
very
have been
long
shut
time,
down
so-
for 4 years, but some of these people, from my conversation with some of these long-term residents, some of them lifelong residents, they've been dealing with this odor and
I mean,
dust
honestly,
and
even
everything
if I
else
didn't
for
work for
decades.
Keating, I would still be here because I just think the whole process has been a nightmare and it's been wrong.
Sure.
It's been handled wrong from the beginning. Even if I didn't work for the company, I would still be outraged about what's happening. I mean,
There's shared responsibility in the wrong, right?
I was just gonna get to that, like, we all make sacrifices to live in a civilized world and we need things. We need quarries because we need stone. That stone built 195. 95% of the roads in this area were paved with stone out of that quarry. It's a needed resource. It's not gonna last forever. It needs to be there. Services is all, makes us live a modern life. I mean, where would we be without roads and concrete and asphalt? So, you wanna live in a civilized world, you've gotta deal with a tiny bit of inconvenience, a tiny bit. You shouldn't have dust in your property and all that, but at the same time, the truck drives by your house, you live near a quarry, I mean, you gotta just,
That's bullshit.
no, it's not bullshit.
That's bullshit.
No, it's not.
Easy.
It's not.
Okay, I'll put a toxic waste dump right next to your house and see how you like it.
No, a toxic waste dump in
That's
a
what
quarry are
silica
not
dust is.
even close to being.
Mr. Ventura, please don't engage
Okay.
in.
That's
Mr.
false.
Smith, I get it, right? You said enough.
We're not talking about
You're all
toxic
set.
waste, we're talking about stone. We're not
You
talking
came
about-
to the podium
It's something
3
that can be
times, and every
controlled.
time you left, you said.
When you have toxic waste in your property, there's nothing you can do to abate
Mr.
it.
Ventura,
You know,
stay within the scope of the application. And if you
well,
don't,
he's
I understand what
piping
you're
in and I'm the one that's at
That's
the
okay, but
podium
don't
talking,
sit
so.
and antagonize the conversation now, it's done and over with. We got your point, thank you very much. All right. Mr. Hill, you have your hand, so.
I do. I have one last comment. First, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, safe, productive, family. There are a lot of people in the community that are less fortunate than the people in this room. Our food drive is open December 15th, right? So you bring in a pound of canned goods, dry goods. It'll go back into your community, and Keating will be donating $1 per pound. So we'll weigh it all up, and our facilities. It's a great event. Please do that. I think we've been very engaged in the last 20, been president for 20 months, and we've done a lot in this community as well as communities outside, and that's one of the founding principles that the Keating family believes in, which is give back to the community. So we're doing that, and I just ask you to stop by and drop off some pasta or tomato sauce or whatever you got. It needs to be dry, non-perishable, and it'll go to the local food bank.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anything, Mr. Warner? Anything, Mr. Heasley?
Just want to say thank you for showing up. This town is run by you guys. Regardless if you work for this side or if you live right over here, show up. Podium's here for a reason, use it. Even if people disagree with what you say, you only got one chance to say it. So thanks for participating and giving us the input we need, both sides.
Mr. Kelly, anything? Nope. Nothing? Yeah. I will accept a motion to close the public hearing, to leave the record open for written comments from the applicant or the public by December 15th,
So moved,
close 4 PM.
so moved.
So it's December 15th
By 4 p.m.
by 4 PM. There was a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing has now been closed. Again, the record will remain open for written comments from the public or the applicant and due December 15th by 4 PM.
Mr. Blake, anything else?
I have nothing else.
Hold on before we adjourn. Bob? And I'd like to just say, as I always do near the holiday season, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Be safe, enjoy your family and friends, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.